The City of Light in some of their musical productions kind of reminds me that, they got all these people up there worshiping and praising God. So what a blessing, what a blessing. So let's pray together and then we'll go to our various places, huh? Father, you've called us out of darkness into the marvelous light of your kingdom. You have rescued us through the shed blood of Jesus and his resurrection from the dead. You've called us your very own. You are a good, good Father, and we are so grateful. And tonight, as the children are in their classes, youth are meeting together, and the rest of us are up here, draw us deeper into this wonderful relationship. Make yourself known to us in the depths of our hearts. Thanks for doing it. Amen. So the kids can assemble in the lobby. Youth will be heading downstairs, and those that don't fit into the first two groups are up here. Kids are getting ready for Youth Sunday. That will be May 5th, just in case you were wondering. So this Wednesday, we have this Wednesday, and then next Wednesday will be our last Wednesday before we take a summer break. Next Wednesday, Wanda Lewin will be sharing her story. So tonight, it's Josh. I want to call you Jamie, Josh. As you can tell, I don't know Josh very well, so I'm excited to learn about this man. So Jeff, okay. So Josh Firkus.
Hi, guys. How are you all doing tonight? Super. When I was working with my parents' sales company, I would answer the phone. Thank you for calling Exclusive Home Products. This is Josh. Yeah, Jeff. Every time. So Jamie's fine. It's closer. All right. Well, I'm not going to lie. I'm one of those guys that uses humor as a barrier. So we threw some one-liners in here just to soften the blow of a lot of truth. Right, Jim? Yeah. Truth is harder to talk about than fiction, that's for sure. So we're going to get started here. I did make a promise to Quinto that I'd write him into the story. So there's that. We'll get that out of the way right away. I was born December 28th, 1979. For those of you that are good with math, that's 44 years. That made Quinto 13. Check. I was born into a good family, a Catholic household. My dad is actually still to this day self-employed. I think that's what made me probably want to be bossless as well. If you own your own business, you can do whatever you want. But there's a saying, people will work 15, 16 hours to buy a business and then work 18 hours a day to keep it. So anyway, for those of you that don't know that side of the business, we'll kind of dive into that a little bit. But basically, we had businesses all parts of growing up. We had apartment buildings in Fargo. That was my first job as a caretaker. So my dad would come home off the road and he would hit the apartments. Excuse me. Joe, what do you do when you get to this point? There you go. All right. So a business owner's most precious gift is what? Time. Well, it says it all right there. No regrets. I'll say this much. He worked his tail off, and he still does today. And one of the best compliments my dad could give is that his boys are industrious. And if your boys are industrious, you got to work with them to spend time with them. So that's not even on the notes. I'm just telling you what's on my heart. So anyway, my mom, she took care of the bookkeeping of the sales company and the apartment rentals. Still does to this day. My older brother managed to avoid the family businesses by being a police officer. No less hard work, I'll tell you that much. And growing up, I can tell you, we had plenty. I know, because whenever I went back for seconds, my dad would say, "You've had plenty." See, let's bring that guard back up here. Otherwise, we're going to be here a long time. All right, so in second grade, we moved from the city out in the country, and that was kind of a cool thing because we grew into the love of the outdoors, country living, like hunting, mountain biking, and ditch. Anyone here know ditch? It's like hide and seek in the dark. It's the best, especially when it's really dark. We were climbing up in a tree one time, and my friend fell down, and I could hear every branch cracking on the way down. And the yard light hit him just right where he looked like mangled on the ground. And I'm like, oh my goodness, he killed himself. My dad's gonna be mad. And then I'm like, Seth, are you okay? And he's like, did they see me? I'm like, that was awesome. That wasn't in here, but again, speaking from the heart. So I didn't know life without God in it. I was raised Catholic. When came time for school, I was enrolled at St. Joseph's Elementary School in Moorhead, Minnesota. Did anyone else go to school in Moorhead? College or otherwise? You went to Moorhead? College, gotcha. Yeah. So I spent all of my time in Moorhead, 30 years. In fact, I planned on never leaving until I met my wife, and she talked me out of it. Way to go, honey. All right, so anyway, at this point, my dad was traveling to the fairs in the summer. Like I say, he sold cookware at state fairs, farm shows, expos, that kind of stuff. And so my first non-apartment job was actually to become a pitchman, if you can imagine. It's kind of cool. I actually got accused once of being a carnival worker. Kind of funny. He goes, you know, you work for the carnival. And I'm like, sorry? No, you work for the carnival. I'm like, I don't work for the carnival. I'm self-employed, sir. And I can prove it. And he goes, what? You can prove it? And mind you, I got 20 people in front of me I'm trying to sell cookware to. And they're all looking at him. They're looking at him. They're looking at me. They're like, what, who is this guy? I said, I'll prove it, sir. I got a full set. And he got upset and ran off. But that's how you handle them. So when we were on the road, now mind you, this is before I was in elementary school. We'd be at the fairs, and we literally lived in an RV on the road. So those Cousin Eddie jokes and Christmas Vacation are super funny to us. Because, you know, if you live in an RV for 3 months out of the summer, you don't want a vacation in it. That's for sure. Now, the only problem with that is when you're on the road working fairs, it's hard to connect with your classmates. And so when we were on the road, we would come home, and it's so funny because I'm like, I just want to play baseball with my classmates. This is all I want to do. Just, you know, you see these kids playing ball, it just looks like fun. Finally, we're back in town because the fair is in town. So I get to go hang out with my friends. You know what they wanted to do? Go to the fair. Yeah. So it was really hard to connect. It wasn't without excitement because I'd go there, and it was kind of like when you go down the carnival and everyone's barking at you, the carnival barkers. It was kind of funny because it was like, when you know that basketball hoop is slanted, you know, they squish it. They can't win anything on that. And these guys are like, no, I can. I'm like, yeah, okay, there goes $20. Sometimes education ain't cheap. But in elementary school, I'll say this, we were a close class of 32, 33, it floated on our numbers, and we were close. In fact, I'd say we're probably, most of those, about 96% of them graduated from St. Joseph's Elementary. So we were like the same group for for 6 years. I'm still in contact with a lot of those guys on Facebook. So, when you have a good friend, you can just pick right up. Anyway, so connections. That was always what we were after, the connections. So we went to St. Joseph's Elementary through 6th grade. Come junior high, there was no St. Joseph's 7th and 8th grade, so we went to public. And let me tell you, that was a shock. If any of you went to a secluded, tight group into a class of 400, so it was terrifying and kind of exciting. So after the fall came, you had this feeling of excitement, kind of like, who am I going to meet this year? Because I know my brother, when he left 6th grade, went into 7th grade, he made some good friends. I know because I got to meet them too. When you're the younger brother, they always say, hey, take your younger brother with. That's probably one of the reasons why my brother and I had a rift. Anyway, more on that later. But I do believe that God gives us who we need when we need them. And that gear, God gave me Matt. He was looking for a friend. I was looking for a friend. Long story short, we spent a lot of time together, lakes. Went to the lake, we played basketball, listened to music. Grunge music was hitting the scene. And I don't know if you guys know this, but in grunge, 90s, people actually cut their jeans on purpose. I know you can buy jeans right now that are pre-ripped, but we broke ours in. The knees were all knocked out and it wasn't from praying, let me tell you. But all that said, the reason I'm kind of sore about Matt is it got to a point with my best friend that drugs hit. Alcohol. He could have stayed at my house, but I told him no. He's still alive, thank God, but he got a DUI that night, and we never recovered. I say never recovered as in, we weren't the same friends after that, because I told him I couldn't explain to my parents why he was at my house. Anyway, we were into punk music and grunge and everything else, and let me say, he went punk. I didn't even recognize my friend by senior year. So I felt kind of like I left him behind. But I was kind of following his path. Now, mind you, I went to private Catholic school through 6th grade. I knew God, but I ventured. But like I say, God gives us who we need when we need them. In junior year, a mutual friend of mine introduced me to one of his friends who was a drummer. Clean, Lutheran. Everyone has their faults. And he made an ultimatum with me. We'll play music together, but you don't bring that in the house. That was one of those moments where you go, thanks God, because that's exactly what I needed then. So with that, I got cleaned up, did away with the drugs. Not the alcohol, but the drugs. And I like to say that when they found their way back into our path, because, it's a long and winding road, and you're going to be bumping into that again someday, especially through school. I'll say this, Nick came when I needed him the most. So, let's see. Again, I'm just rambling here, so I'll try to find my bullet where I was supposed to be. Okay, so So now I'm in this grunge band, so this is fun. Screwing around, just loving life. I was looking forward to Friday night like crazy because every Friday I go over to Nick's house and we'd play for 3-4 hours until we were absolutely exhausted, and then we'd do what normal kids in high school were doing. So that was really fun. At church, so coming back into the church side of it, I was still attending. Interestingly enough, 7th grade, I was approached by my brother to join our high school choir. They had 3 members for high school choir. And he's like, we could use another voice. I'm like, yeah, okay, that sounds like fun. So this kind of comes circling back to hanging out with the older people. And it was great. Had a great year singing in front of the church. And the following year, 8th grade, I'm like, sweet, I got this in the bag. And they asked me not to join. No, I know what you're thinking. Solo tenor, right? So low they can't hear me, 10 or so miles away. No, it wasn't that. It was that they had enough. We had so much fun in choir that year that more people joined. But I wasn't old enough because I wasn't in high school. So as, that Pink Floyd song, Another Brick in the Wall, that literally pushed me another step further from the church. Because I'm just like, cool, I was good enough for you last year, but not this year. So it was hard. To add to it, my brother didn't stand up for me. Because he's like, yeah, you're not old enough, sorry. And all I could think was, dude, really? But what it was is he saw that I was very sociable and his friends wanted to hang out with me, not him. He had a little bit of an aggression, anger kind of a thing. I'm sure he's still working on that, but anyway, long story short, it was hard. It was really hard to be at church at that time. In fact, that was a place I didn't want to be because it was a new hurt that I never felt before. So anyway, when I did become a freshman in high school, then they did invite me back because I was in high school. I officially can go. Did I want to? Not especially. I'm just like, we'll see. And then a day before practice, my mom's like, you're going. So I'm like, okay, I guess I am. But as time went on, because I did sing in choir for 4 years in school, I did see that some of my friends that we were in that tight group of 32 people in private Catholic school, I did see that there's a lot of judgment in that. And the reason I say that is because some of the people in that choir were kind of at that point where they're like, holes in your pants, long hair. I don't know if you guys know this, but the longer you grow your hair out, the more it makes angry the squares. They just didn't know what to do with that. And I didn't care because I knew God, or at least I thought I knew God. I'd say not to the level I think I know him now. But that was really tough. So I really got to know the statement, I save my judgment for the Lord. I'll let him take care of that. And that actually aggravated them all the more. What a great diss, though, right? How's that judgment thing going? Ooh. So anyway, I kind of touched on that. Check that box. So anyway, getting closer to graduation high school. I was kind of a rebel, I guess, but I did graduate with a B average. I was literally doing the bare minimum just to get by. I think by that time I kind of lost my, cares. I just didn't care anymore. For the most part, if any of you have gone to high school, you know what I mean. You just put your head down, get through it, and by the time you graduate, you're like, freedom. So you kind of have that Braveheart moment, where you just want to, freedom, even while they're disemboweling you. Yeah. So I didn't know where I wanted to go after high school or even what I wanted to do. But I had some time to think about it. So my brother was at MSU, and so he said, "Yeah, go to MSU. It's a great place to go if you don't know what you want to do, because they got a lot of liberal arts and that kind of stuff. Plus, if you have a pulse, you're in." So I don't think they even take ACTs anymore. I was still attending St. Joseph's at this time. I would say it was for show. I didn't feel any connection. The only thing that I felt when I was there was just a chip on my shoulder. Because we kind of grew up in that faith where when you're there, it's like, dude, I graduated and I got confirmed there. What more do I need to know? It's like I graduated, like I got the PhD, because I know more about the Bible than any of these guys, you know? But really, in the truth of it was, I just didn't feel the connection, especially when you see the high school choir up there and it brings back all of those painful memories. So anyway, but I felt liberated because my schedule was freeing up. I didn't have the choir thing anymore. And the only thing we really had on our summer plans before college was we had Sunshine Music Festival coming up. Mm-hmm. We went 4 years through Sunshine. That was a good time. Best act that I thought I saw was MXPX. I know, right? So was Mike Herrera. Interestingly, though, I did see him at Playmakers when they played in Fargo a number of years later, and I met him. And he was the rudest guy. I actually asked for his autograph, and he was just like, "Just get away from me." I'm like, yeah, no longer my hero. Well, he wasn't my hero to begin with. He had a bad voice. Anyway, how's that judgment thing going on, Josh? So basically, all we really were looking forward to was working in the summer, making music. The band was still going on, and hanging out, partying on the weekends. I did receive a letter from MSU, so I guess I did have plans after all. I think it was kind of cool because it was the only college that I applied to, so I was batting 100%. So that was pretty good. I didn't know what I wanted to study, so I started undeclared, and then I went business and Spanish. Then I changed to guitar. I got weeded out after 3 semesters, and then I changed back to business. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. A lot of people, change their majors. I think I did 7 times. Yeah, just think, if I would have gone to college 2 more years, I could have been a doctor. Because I got it done in just 5 years. In the end, the diploma ultimately said International Business in Spanish, so in case you guys were wondering. The end of freshman year, though, my best friend and band founding member informed me that he was seeing someone else. Yeah. So anyway, he was leaving our band for a cover band that wrote originals, and he felt that it would achieve more success. So no more grunge. At that point, then, I started playing acoustic and just felt like, I don't feel like risking my feelings anymore. Just another brick in the wall. So I stopped trying in that too. I just started playing guitar for myself. And then after I got weeded out of the guitar program, I just kind of felt like, I think I'll just play for myself. And actually, it was about 8 months before I picked up my guitar after changing out of that music program, which is kind of silly when you think about it, but it was just a big level of hurt. Another long string of devastating blows, I guess. So anyway, that band breakup was the hardest. I felt really lost, and in hindsight, I shouldn't have placed my trust so much in people. Instead, I should have been probably putting my faith in Jesus and just filling that hole that way. But instead, I womanized, and I drank, and I made outrageous claims like I invented the question mark. For those of you who don't know, that's a line from Austin Powers. See, there's that guard going back up. But I focused most of my gaze on pleasure, not purpose. And at the same time, even when I was bar hopping and driving drunk, I still felt God. the entire time. So much so that I actually felt confident. Like, how sordid is that? You know? I was literally putting myself and everyone on the road at risk. So I kind of felt like Jesus and the 99 sheep. I just felt like he was chasing after me, and I knew it. And I knew it. And I shouldn't have been doing it, but I was doing it anyway. So anyway, by the way, in sales jargon, we always say we because it's more inclusive. After selling for 22 years, I still do it. So we still do it. Anyway, had a few serious relationships that ultimately led me to desire solitude, because after they went south again, you just got to the point where it's like, nope, I'm not getting any smarter, Josh, you know? My dad always used to say, your partner will put you into the business or they'll take you out of the business. And that is true. So I took a job as a salesman in my parents' sales business with the intent to learn the art of selling, and could officially claim the title now of professional panhandler. In fact, I still want to put that on a business card, even though I'm not peddling pans anymore. But at this time, I was single and I was hitting the road, and this made more sense. You know, they always say, like, invest in yourself. And the truth of it is yeah, when you're successful, it's way easier to meet chicks. Right, honey? Anyway, there's some foreshadowing there. Anyway, so I studied more on selling, but it was more self-development. So I spent more time reading like Zig Ziglar, Dale Carnegie, and actually my favorite book's on body language. Because I figured that if you're sitting in front of a prospect and you can read what their body is telling them and they don't even realize that they're doing it, we'd have a leg up. Thank you. But all of the personal development aside, you know what book I should have been reading? The Bible. Yep. But again, see, raised Catholic, I'm good. I'm still good. I'm still good. I think I could ride this out for at least another 5 to 10 years at least, right? Solid. All right, so the more that I was on the road and selling, the more really I wanted to sell, and I was hooked. It's kind of like deer hunting or fishing, and you land that big one. You just want it all the more. I want to sell more. You know, it's an adrenaline rush, but the best part is it's not a season. You get to do it every day. So I did so well my first year that I earned a trip for 2 to Hawaii. So I was going to turn 21 years old in Hawaii. That sounds like a good plan for a guy that likes to drink, right? So anyway, I needed the official name on my girlfriend's driver's license to get her name on the airline ticket. And she wouldn't give it to me, like her full name. I know what you guys are thinking, like, so she was a fraud? Nope, she was just breaking up with me. Back to solitude. All right, time to focus back on the career and everything again. So all that time I should have been praying, but I didn't. I'm still not learning my lesson. I'm that one sheep again. At this point, if you guys have seen that video of the sheep that bounces and goes into the drainage ditch, and the shepherd's like prying him out with a pry bar, and he finally gets it out, and then it goes doing, boink. That's kind of where I'm feeling right now. And it's worse when you have to write it down on paper and tell people the story, because you just realize how sad it really is. But anyway. So anyway, one particular summer, my best friend and roommate were at a Zorba's in Detroit Lakes. And it was about 90 to 95 degrees. The sun was hot. The Coronas were cold. We hadn't come up with a game plan as to exactly what we're going to do. And if you guys know, the 5th of July is the week in Detroit Lakes where you do not drink and drive. So at least we were smart enough to respect that. And neither of us needed anything on our record. We still had a clean record by this time. But what was interesting was we didn't have any plans. So we're like, let's sleep on the beach. No, you get arrested for that. We could sleep in the arena on someone's pontoon. I even had the idea of sleeping in a cardboard receptacle, like a dumpster. And then someday we could tell everyone how low we had sunk in that we were sleeping in a dumpster. The joke is that it's like, dude, we need more stories. Well, anyway, by the time, I don't know, if you'd leaned against the picnic table, the glasses would jiggle. I mean, that's how many bottles were on the table. But that's when, now you got to cue the scene from Grumpy Old Men, right? Have you guys seen Grumpy Old Men, the second one? Where the two guys are sitting at the bar, and then, is it Sophie Loren? Or what's the Italian bird? She starts walking in, and I'm Your Venus, I'm Your Fire starts playing. And the two guys are like, holy moly. Be strong, be strong. Anyway, that's when Jackie walked in with two of her friends, co-workers actually. Yeah. And see, this is the Lord looking after me again, because we had no plans. We were literally flying by the seat of our pants, and in walks Jackie. Sweet. Well, anyway, she was working at Fargo Harley Davidson, and two of these girls that she worked with, one of them was one of our friends at the time, girlfriend, and anyway, they're married now. They have horses even, so they ditched the motorcycles for horses. And they said, literally, what are you guys doing? And we're like, don't know. We have no plans. So they took us with. So anyway, she was actually in a toxic relationship prior to that. And I was kind of at that point where I'm like, I don't know. I'm not interested in anything serious either because I've had such good luck. But anyway, we got back to Fargo, separately, obviously. But a week later, we made some mutual friends made sure that we got back together. So I thought that was kind of cool. So coming up that spring, I graduated 9 credits shy of a double major. Just 9 more credits, and I would have had a major in Spanish too. But I was kind of tired of school, and I have this new girlfriend. So it took us a year to actually admit that we were dating. It was like the big drama in the family. Like, are they official yet? We're not telling anyone, just leave us alone. We're just friends, yeah. We're just hanging out. We got to learn that line really well. So now, at this point, I'm graduated, so I'm super smart. And we decided we're gonna hit the road. I took her away from Harley Davidson 4 times. So she was kind of sad that I was on the road selling, for weeks on end and not seeing her. And she's like, you know what? I don't like this job anyway. So she would leave and she'd hit the road. And then at the end of the season, she's like, this is really hard. Well, it is. She's like, I don't know what I'm going to be doing next week. And I'm like, yeah, just zoom out your day planner to a year, and then it all makes sense. It repeats after that. From 1 week to the next, where are we going? It's right there in the schedule, honey. We book these shows 6 months in advance. So anyway, the big hurdle, I would probably say, and we didn't really have much of a hurdle, and in fact, the two of us even agree that we don't fight. We don't really have anything really to fight about. But one of the hurdles that we were looking at was neither of us are really attending church. But we knew that if we have kids someday, I'm Catholic, she's Lutheran. So someone's going to get upset. Either it's going to be my family, because with all those Catholics running around, they don't necessarily think that they're still kind of hurt about that Martin Luther thing. And anyway, yeah. And I'm not leaving the Catholic faith, because then what? Guess what happens then? Then my whole family will just despise, and we don't need that either. So anyway, basically we just put it on hold and just said, we'll figure it out. Just like everything else. Lord has a plan, we'll figure it out. So anyway, business was doing well. We were getting better shows, we were on the road a lot. It's like 7 months out of the year. And so that was also kind of conducive to not going to church, because we were working Sundays. I remember my dad asking our priest, if you're working on a Sunday, you got to make a living. Like these fairs, you spend thousands of dollars to go to a state fair, to have a booth there. And so what do? Change occupations just so we can be in attendance. And the priest gave my dad permission. No, you're fine. If you're making a living for your family, you can work on a Sunday. That just seems so odd because I know there's this thing in the Ten Commandments that we got to keep it holy. So it was like, there's that other question that no one could answer for me. But anyway, we bought a house in 2006, right? Bought a house in 2006, and we were fixing it up. New roof, paint, kitchen, the whole shebang. And like I say, money was business as well, so the money was coming in good. Now, for those of you that are old enough to remember, do you guys remember what happened in 2008? Like, all construction people were destitute, basically, couldn't find work anywhere. Let me tell you, it's hard to sell cookware to people that don't know where their next paycheck's gonna come from. And we were no different. Luckily, we had a couple people that were just literally, every show, like we did get just enough sales just to literally stay in business. But the problem that we were running into, it wasn't just the housing bubble Obamacare was hitting. It was like a perfect storm for people to have less money in their wallet to spend. And so I'll be the first one to say that I've lived long enough by this time to know that the name of the bill, Affordable Care Act, is always the opposite of what Congress says the bill will do. So they weren't making health care affordable. Here's another great example, Inflation Reduction Act. Nailed it, yeah. So anyway, around this time, my dad read a book, and he handed it to me and said, I think you should read this. And it wasn't the Bible yet. We're getting there. Should have been reading the Bible. Should have been. But anyway, he read this book about an EMP strike that hits this town. It's a fiction book called 1 Second After. And I'm not going to lie, it kind of freaked me out. Like, geez, here's all these people that are destitute. They probably don't have a lot of money in their pantry. And I'm just thinking, I know what's going to happen here. An EMP hits, heaven forbid, and then we're stuck in Fargo-Moorhead, one of the most heavily populated areas in the upper Midwest for North Dakota and western Minnesota. So we just finished our kitchen, and we thought, you know what? If there was a time to sell our house, it's right now. Now, here's the cool thing about selling cookware, though. You can live anywhere. You just got to drive to work. And I'm already driving 8 hours to Billings to go to work anyway. So what's not a couple more hours, right? So what we did is we put our house on the market. It's sold, and now we're homeless. It sounds worse than it is, but what ended up happening was we decided, okay, if we can work anywhere, we're going to move closer to family. My brother lived in the cities. Linda and Boyd and the boys, they all lived around Alexandria, so we're like, hey, let's look around there. So anyway, we found a place just north of town, 40 acres, middle of nowhere, no neighbors. This is an EMP kind of property, right? That is literally what our thought was, yeah. Of course, now we're just so busy, I don't even think about that stuff anymore, but at the time, that was, I think, what we needed because it got us out of Fargo-Moorhead. Now, the one thing I kind of feel about Fargo-Moorhead, I just went back to visit last year, some of my friends from high school, and one of the shocking things I found about Moorhead is the living with the Joneses lifestyle back there. The suburbias that are popping up. Well, I don't know if you guys remember Mr. and Mrs. Smith, like the Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie. Guy walks into the house, wow, this is great. You have way more square footage than my house. Is this a cherry floor? You just go, none of this matters. In the grand scheme of it, this has nothing to do with our salvation. So this is about the time that the worm turned in this story. We wanted to get closer to family, and we found this property. By the way, Linda, I think I still owe you money for electrical bill on that RV plugged in because We moved into our RV in her backyard in October, and we didn't close until January 8th. If you could have seen the icicles flying off of that RV when we closed on the house, I'm driving down Broadway, and I'm like, someone's going to get hurt. Like, they were that big around at the base. Like, they were just shattering all over the road. It was great. So anyway, all that said, the house was it definitely needed some work. Has a great view, $1 million view, but literally when we walked into the house, it was like we're renting from the mice. That winter we stopped counting at 90 mice that we killed that winter. It had a half-rotten barn, leaky outbuildings, $1 million view, but that was where all the value was in the view. So anyway, I wrote on this, and I think I must have found this funny on Sunday when I wrote this, but it must have been cold that winter because in November, Jackie shared her birthday gift with the coolest gift I could ever give her, a baby girl. So remember, friction causes heat. So anyway, here's the crazy thing. I know you can be redder than that, honey. Sorry, more red. I have a college degree. Anyway, the cool thing about this is Jackie's birthday is November 5th. And so every year I'd share with her on her birthday, dear firearm opener. And that year, Grace was born on her birthday. So now I have 2 birthdays on deer opener. It's awesome. It's just awesome. Up until this time, that was the only opener that I missed. So really, the best part about this part is that's what brought us back to church. Is we wanted, I think it was more like, I want my daughter to have the same choice. You know, I want her to grow up in the faith. I want her to, she's not going to feel the same pains and all that stuff as myself. So time to go church shopping. So now we have to conquer that Catholic versus Lutheran thing. And we made the best compromise ever. And the compromise was non-denominational. Right? I was talking to my grandma about it, and we lost my grandma this winter, but she said it perfect. When my grandpa cheated on my grandma, they had 9 children together, and they split. So when they split, she went to a Bible study with the Mormons. And she goes, Josh, we opened up that Bible. It's the same Bible I had. So all things considered, denomination all of a sudden now clicked. Doesn't make a difference. We're all praying to the same God. He's all looking after all of us. And then all we got to do is just get into an ideological debate as to, like the Longshanks scrap table. It's kind of like that. But that calmed me. In business training, they used to say fear. It's an acronym, false evidence appearing real. Why did I wait so long? Scared of disappointing people in my family? They didn't care. It was my struggle. It was my struggle. That wasn't a bullet. I'm sorry. So anyway, Catalyst is where we landed, and I loved it. We had a great family there, great worship music. They offered Bible studies, and this is kind of where it is. Kind of how we ended up here, I guess. All right, let's see here. I'm sure I got a joke in here somewhere. Okay. Yeah, let's look at this. So they offered a Bible study called Morph. Greatest Bible study ever, and it's based on Romans. And the reason why I was so taken by this idea of doing this Bible study, because at this point my heart was still in it for the family, and I'm still on the road. I'm working Sundays just like my dad did, so I'm not both feet in yet, other than the fact that, in hindsight, of course, it gets a little emotional knowing where it led. But in Morph, basically, it teaches people. It's a whole study on Romans, and basically how to die. You're putting yourself on the cross with Jesus, your old self. I'm going to replace your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. And the main reason why I wanted to do this Bible study was because our pastor, Steve Eng, if you guys know him, great man, he thought that Lucas and I would hit it off. I know 2 of us here know Lucas. Anyone else know Lucas Dalsing? Great guy. So we came up with this idea. We don't have to be at the Y where there's nursery, and childcare. We can do this Bible study anywhere. So I'm like, could we do this ice fishing? Yeah, I suppose. Cool. I think we should do that. And Lucas goes, I'm on his team. Because we're supposed to pair off. And he's like, I'm going with that guy. I'm like, I threw the worm out there and he took it. It was great. It worked. Funny side story, we did go ice fishing with Jackie's Explorer out on Minnewaska. We had the clam in the back, and we drove out on the ice, and I caught a northern. It was fun. But what was crazy was the entire lake, the ice was shifting, and it was like an earthquake. Not an earthquake like, oh, that was crazy. It lasted 10 seconds. Like, the whole entire thing was shaking for 10 seconds. I'm thinking we should have brought our Bibles and our binder. Sorry, Lord. And we flipped the clam over, and we're going to run. We don't know where we're going to run to, but we're going to run. And let me just say, I was surprised to see that Jackie's Explorer was still on the ice. That's how crazy that ice shift was. There was a 6-inch hole where the ice had separated, and there's Lucas going, dude, this is crazy. I'm just like, oh, don't do that. I'm going to have to explain it to your wife. Well, anyway, the purpose of all of this is to say that Lucas and I became very, very good friends. And he went through a tough time. Separation with his wife. And Dylan had invited me, being friends with Lucas as well, to the men's retreat. And that's where the seed was planted to come here. I feel like Forrest Gump right now, that's all I got to say about that. But there's so much more there. So much more there. But I did want to talk about a few things. I know the Lord's been working in my life. And I'm just going to kind of click back over to the business side of things. As time went on, we noticed that our cookware business was kind of fizzling. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but a lot of people shop on their smartphones now. Have you seen it? Maybe, I don't know, maybe you guys do it too, I don't know. But what I was realizing was when I was at the shows and we'd have people in front of me and I was demonstrating the product, I couldn't get their attention because they're staring at their phones. And that's really hard for a pitch person to try to compete with a smartphone. And our factory that was manufacturing our cookware would not allow us, contractually speaking, to have a website that we could sell through. And so they're literally binding us in our business. So anyway, it seemed like every year, we'd build up a nest egg, and then it would just get swallowed up in taxes come April 15th. And so it was like we were never getting ahead. We were never getting ahead. It's like, this is intolerable. And I knew in my head and my heart that in 5 to 10 years we're going to be out of this business. There's just, you can't compete with the internet. It's a very useful tool, and if you're bound from using it, then you're just kind of screwed. So we were waiting, and I don't know how this happened. My parents were relocating from Moorhead to be closer to us, which was part of the original agreement that if we moved out of Moorhead, they would move closer. So we had to make the first jump. So anyway, we were in a interesting place because being working 7 months out of the year, I have 5 months of free time. So you could hunt and fish. That costs money. You guys seen the price of shiners? My goodness. So we, I don't know how this happened. I swear to goodness it's divine intervention. But my mom was sad that her chickens couldn't come with her to Sauk Center because they didn't have a coop. That's literally how this started. So I built my mom a chicken coop. I'm like, if she doesn't want it, I don't care. I'm going to sell this thing on Craigslist. I don't care. But I need something to do over the winter. And lo and behold, it wasn't long after that. We sold, I think the first year, 8, then 20, then 44. And it was getting to the point where I didn't want to go hit the road anymore because I had all these orders. So imagine that. Out of nothing, there's something. It's like creation, right? There was nothing, and then there was something. So what ended up happening, I don't want to get too far ahead of this story, but what ended up happening on the coop side of it was, even over COVID, oh boy, that's a great memory. Let's just shut the door. Everyone can get locked into their homes and not talk to anyone. Now, for a guy that's a pitchman, right? There's no fairs. Not one is. They're all canceling like a week before. So I told my dad, I'm like, I think I'm just going to keep building. He's like, do it. Take the orders. You got to provide. I'm like, all right. I was talking to my brother, who's a cop down in the cities. I'm like, am I going to get arrested for delivering and trying to make a living? Because this is a lockdown, right? He's like, I have no idea, Josh. I have no answers for you. He said, just do it until you get in trouble. I'm like, that'd be a bad PR move. This guy is spreading COVID all over the state. But we didn't know, you just don't know. So we just did it anyway. Well, anyway, that year, we sold 90 coops. Thank you, Lord. So now it's March, right before the chicken season again, after 2020. And there's a saying in sales, the more you sell, the more you're going to sell. With all those coops that we had over there, more people wanted them. We are literally booked out through the summer. In a time where I couldn't even get someone walking by looking at their smartphone to look at a shiny pan. But now we're in trouble. The reason we're in trouble is because we don't have enough labor. In a time where people don't want to work, they're getting paid to stay home. Another obstacle. You want to hear a story about why God is good? This is awesome. Jackie says, let's pray on it. Let's just pray on it. Lord, send us labor. Send us someone that wants to work. In 2 minutes, I get a call from the Amish. Josh, yes? Do you need help building coops? Yes. Yes, I do. I can't tell you guys how much it broke down. Every time. The evidence is there. If you ever doubt, just shut the white noise off and listen. It's right there every time. All right, another good story. You guys want to hear another good, feel-good story? I hate feel-good stories. I can't even read it. There's tears on the paper. Okay, so I'm on the road. Now, this is before I decided to walk away from cookware. I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Let me tell you guys, you want to see a need for Jesus, go to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and go to the fair. I mean, these guys have, it's not a dental hygiene problem. It's a drug problem down there. And I made friends with a guy who was selling, he was kind of a missionary type, but he works music festivals, mostly. And he was there at the Tulsa Fair just as a filler, just like a lot of us. You know, you have your primary shows that you do the best at, and then you have the ones in between that kind of help pay for expenses when you're out there. So this guy was selling burlap busts of Jesus. And every morning I walk by there, I'm like, this is the most unique bust of Jesus I've ever seen. He's like, yeah, some guys down in like South America make them for him, and then he sells them for like $120. And I'm like, well, I can't say the fair's been that good for me, but that'd be kind of cool. So anyway, we were just kind of doing some fellowship in the morning, and this one morning he gave me, I think I made him breakfast. I'm pretty sure I made him breakfast. And after talking for an hour, he said, hey, you know, I want to give you a gift. Do you have a Bible verse? And immediately my head went back to Tim Hawkins. You guys seen that part with Tim Hawkins? And he's like, okay, do you guys know what Tim Hawkins is? Okay, good. Christian comedian, and people say, do you have a verse? And he's like, I don't have a verse. He just wrote something random down, and it's like, they were something about a horrible, like, infectious disease or something. And I'm like, I wish I could remember that verse. Well, anyway, I said, no, I don't have one that I like claim to. No. He goes, what's your name? Joshua, or Josh. Oh, I got one that's Joshua 9:19. I'll be right back. So he goes over to his booth and he grabs this stainless steel. It's 2 nails. It says Joshua 1:9. Be strong and courageous, for I am with you, wherever you go, or something like that. So anyway, oh, look, Jackie's calling. This is kind of cool. Oh, it's your wife? Yeah, go ahead, take that. I'm like, okay, cool. So I get on the phone with her, and she's like, hey, Grace memorized a Bible verse. Guess which one? So there I am, people walking by, I'm just bawling. Like, God, I hate being so sensitive. Anyway, I skipped past another monument. Evelyn was born, and I have her birthday over here too. September 27th. I almost missed the Kansas State Fair. No, the Tulsa Fair. Timing is everything. But it was actually cool because I didn't have to drive down there for 2 days. I could do it in one day instead, so that was nice. Didn't have to go with my parents. A couple years later, we grew by another. For those of you that know Stella, she was born March 31st, 2019. And this is kind of cool because the nurse that helped catch that baby from hitting the floor was Sierra. And that was our first introduction to the Howers. There was a couple ladies' nights, and before you know it, Sierra and Jackie ended up bumping back into each other at a ladies' night. Hey, weren't you my nurse? Yeah. Yeah, I have seen you in your most vulnerable state. That's cool. Let's talk about that. Anyway, and can you believe it that these girls thought that their husbands would get along? Finally, Jackie was right. I'm just kidding. I say that because I've been on other husband blind dates before, and it's like, meh. But this one stuck. This one stuck. Anyway, so So back to the men's retreats. That's kind of how we ended up getting to the men's retreats. And actually, I got to say, the men's retreat was great. So I don't know where Brandon went, but there's that 18 hours to keep it. Ugh, that hurts. We'll pray for that. Lord, dry this out. Yeah. So let's see. So into the men's summit, it was great. Speakers, the fellowship, drumming by Steve. It was just wonderful. And I'll say this: the connections that we made at the men's retreat, more meaningful than probably any other relationships that we started here in Alexandria. So, thanks for that. Anyway, geez, I flew right through this. So anyway, I'm going to close here. I don't even know how much time I've used. What time did I start? I'm good with math, but I don't remember that part of the equation. 6:45, nice. Truthfully, like some of my cookware shows, like when you're doing really good, they could go 3 hours. And then people would go, wow, we've been here 3 hours. I'm like, yeah, get that checkbook out. That's what that means. Oh, it's great to meet you. Wait, where are you going? Whoa, bump the brakes. All right, so anyway, so I'm just going to close with this. I thought this sums it up so well, our coming to New Testament. I told Pete in January what this church has meant to us, but you know what he said? I said, your church. And he goes, it's your church too? And all I can say is that's it. There's us. You know. So I want to thank you guys for hearing me out. And let me tell you, this is just a great church. We just love it here. I mean, we could probably work on the music a little bit. Just kidding. Lo siento, hablo chistes. But anyway, thank you guys for that. Yeah, thank God for this path. Because I have no doubt that all those weird intersections, humps, molehills, and everything brought us right to here. So, thank you.
Thank you, Josh. That was fun. Well, we have a little time. The little ones have not come storming back yet, so we have a little time for fellowship. So enjoy.